Well, hello again. This is Bob N1KPR, and we're showing the final version of the audio diversity AM and FM broadcast system. What we're doing is we're combining digital and analog off-air broadcasts to create an audio diversity system, yet another form of diversity reception. Unlike spatial diversity or RF diversity, we're using analog and digital signals. And what benefit is that? Well, as we know, the analog signals are subject to QSB and fading, and digital signals are sensitive to dropout based on signal level. So by combining the two, whenever there's atmospheric disturbances, particularly a gray line in the morning and in the evening, we mix in the digital signal, which fills in the holes of the QSB or the fading in the AM signal, analog signal. And the reverse is true. When the digital signal tends to drop out because of weather or distance from the station or station power, the analog signal, assuming there's no QSB at the moment, will fill that in. Now there's another video out showing the basic tuner, which we're using the basic architecture from the Sangean HDT1X, the X being the latest firmware version that allows you to receive digital and analog at the same time. If you want to do that, do not buy one that's an HDT1, because you won't be able to receive both at the same time. It's called analog digital split mode. And I should mention too that they call this an HD radio. HD does not mean high definition. It does mean hybrid digital, and that's that's a lot more fitting for what this thing does. Anyhow, the original module that we added to the radio allowed for a left and a right input level control to do the mixing and balancing of the digital and analog, left being the digital, right being the analog, a master gain control. We have a RF gain to keep from overloading the AM tuner, a control to switch between the power amp or preamp output, depending on whether you're going to be high level or feeding loudspeakers, and another switch for headphones, external speaker, or the built-in internal speaker. This final version, we decided we needed more control over the mixing and summing of the two signals. So we've added this top unit that allows us to select left and right muting, which would be over here. Again, input and output levels that can be mixed with the appropriate controls. We've added a blend control so that we can do selective mixing of the two channels. A balance control that allows us to adjust the levels left or right, or digital or analog, of the output signal, any amount of mix or any proportion. Finally, a master gain. And just to make things real nice for our ears, we've added a 3-band equalizer, bass, mid, and treble. So that's basically the final system. And here, let's go into operation here. Here's the digital.
Goldberg comes down for Romney against Romney. I don't know
Here's the
where he's been
analog.
up to this piece.
I will shut it off.
All I know is where National Review has been.
Here's the analog alone.
And they did have an unsigned editorial that
I don't know if the microphone can hear it, but there is some adjacent channel stuff coming in.
Obvious to conclude that by a process
We'll
of
go here to the
elimination,
digital
Romney was the guy.
alone.
Now, Joan is not writing for National Review here, I should say.
It's a very
this is his
clean
syndicated
signal.
column.
So
So maybe nothing to...
as you can see now, we can balance all of the inputs, the master feed down to the actual diversity system. Those also, at this point, are 50-50. They're all in balance. Master gain.
Easy, more like a super helpful manager and a riddle.
And, of course, which we don't need right now, the RF gain control. It's a very nice system for long-term listening. If you have an IBOC station nearby that transmits a fairly good quality signal in your area. The only problem that could occur is if there's a latency between the digital and the analog. Often the digital processing produces a latency, and if it's less than a few milliseconds, you're not going to hear it. If you do listen to something like this on this kind of tuner in split mode and you hear an echo, it's probably that you're up around 20 or 30 or even more milliseconds of digital latency in the processing at the station. So that's something that could ruin the whole experience. But in this case, it's a very fine reception situation here. Let's just see if we can hear this a little bit.
Closeout event's almost over. Don't miss the final days to save up to $800 on selected 2011 bed sets.
Well, they're doing a commercial, so we don't want to do commercials here. Well, that's pretty much it. It's the again, the architecture is the Sangen HDT-1X. This circuit will eventually be available on my website, bobsamerica.com, bobsamerica.com, and it'll be under the SWL section as digital radio or diversity digital radio or something like that. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon. This is Bob in 1 KPR. Well, before I leave, I should also mention something that I forgot. Was that over here in the input selection, you can also go to another set of inputs that allows you to feed two receivers. What you would do there, and that would be true ISB or independent sideband, is tune one receiver to the AM station on lower sideband, which is called ECSS, Exalted Carrier, single sideband, and the other channel, the upper sideband. As you know, with single sideband, the carrier is reinserted by the receiver. You don't have to rely on the broadcast signal off the air coming down your antenna to contain a stable carrier in the event of a selective fading or deep fades or any QSB situation. The sideband mode from the receiver will inject the carrier at the receiver, not from the antenna. So by feeding this thing with lower sideband, the right side upper sideband, you can combine those two sidebands to get true RF diversity or reception diversity, which is a totally different system, a different mode, different scheme than this digital thing that we're using here. The only other major form of diversity that we're not covering here, which also could be accomplished with the tuner section, would be antenna diversity, where you have a couple of antennas outside at a prescribed wavelength apart and so on. That gets to be a little cumbersome, and that's another issue. So, but anyhow, we figured we'd add that. Again, thanks. This is Bob in 1 KPR. Thanks for watching.